Let me welcome you here in my YouTube channel, my Tech Toolbox. Good day. I'm glad that you find it here, and I hope that you're just fine as well.
Hello there, fellow project practitioner. Today I'm going to present to you a project planning procedure for your easy and handy reference in planning your project. It just has 7 key steps that most project planners and schedulers follow. I briefly and contextually present the procedure for you who is part of the fast-learning project implementers of the 20th century. Project planning is the second phase of the project lifecycle. It is undertaken to provide a clear roadmap for project execution, ensuring efficient resource allocation, and minimizing risks to achieve project goals within defined constraints. It helps in establishing clear objectives, defining tasks, creating timelines, and outlining the resources needed to complete a project successfully. The main purpose is to plan time, cost, and resources adequately to estimate the work needed and to effectively manage risk during project execution. As with the initiation process group, to adequately plan greatly increases the project's chances of successfully accomplishing its goals and objectives. Let's go to the project planning procedure, which is the means to achieve these objectives. Key aspects of project planning. 1. Defining goals and scope is establishing clear objectives and deliverables is crucial. 2. Creating a timeline is setting milestones and deadlines provides a schedule for completing the project. 3. Allocating resources is identifying and assigning the necessary personnel, materials, and budget for each task. 4. Assigning tasks is determining who will be responsible for each task and their specific roles. 5. Risk assessment is identifying potential risks and developing contingency plans. Communication strategy is establishing clear channels for communication among stakeholders. This project planning procedure flow chart provides guidance for a planner to properly create the project plan. It consists of 7 steps as follows. Step 1. Create work breakdown structure, WBS. Step 2. Estimate work packages. Step 3. Sequencing of task. Step 4. Draw initial schedule. Step 5. Develop budget. Step 6. Assign and level resources. Step 7. Complete the project plan. With the project initiation documents and risk management plan as input to this process, let us start with Step 1 by developing the WBS for all project tasks. Experienced officers of the company or consultants may be involved in creating the WBS. Creating a WBS shall follow these 6 detailed steps as follows. Step 1. Define project scope and objectives. Clearly understand the project's goals and what needs to be accomplished. Step 2. Identify major deliverables. Break down the project into its key outputs or results, such as products, services, or reports. Step 3. Decompose deliverables. Divide each deliverable into smaller, manageable subdeliverables and tasks. Step 4. Organize into work packages. Group related tasks into work packages, which are the lowest level of the WBS. Step 5. Create the draft WBS chart. Visualize the WBS using a chart or diagram, showing the hierarchical breakdown of the project. Step 6. Review and refine. The draft WBS shall be reviewed and approved by higher officers or groups prior to its release to the succeeding processes. Approved WBS can be released and used as input to the next processes. Estimating of work packages and task relationship. WBS can be set up either in graphical or outline format. Depending on the group of audience or user, a WBS can be presented in a graphical format or outline format. The graphical format is usually used for higher-level monitoring, while the outline format is used by the project management and construction groups. We take note that the outline form assigns numbers or WBS codes for task sequencing and schedule preparation processes. In project management, a work package is a deliverable-oriented grouping of project tasks that represents the smallest unit of work within a project's work breakdown structure, WBS. It's essentially a mini-project containing all the necessary information, resources, and activities to achieve a specific goal or result. Estimating work packages follows 3 basic steps. Step 1. Determine the output or end result of a work package. 1. Quantity. 2. Specifications. Step 2. Design or decide the methodology or process in producing the output or end result. Step 3. Estimate the amount of input resources, material, manpower, equipment, and others needed to produce the output or end result. The design or determination of the methodology, estimate of resources and duration of the package shall be undertaken by a competent person or party. Finally, cost of all resources in each package is summarized and the duration of the work is then calculated to complete the whole package. A typical template for estimating a work package follows. This is a typical template for estimating a work package, the one used in estimating the resources, methodology, and duration needed to undertake a task. Additional information on who prepared, reviewed, and approved is recommended prior to release for the next process. The third step in the project planning procedure is the sequencing of tasks. It is performed by arranging project activities in a logical order, determining dependencies, and establishing a timeline for efficient execution. This process helps ensure that tasks are completed in the right order, minimizing delays and maximizing resource utilization. Types of task dependencies are 1. Finish to start, FS. This is the most common type. Task B, the successor, cannot start until task A, the predecessor, is finished. For example, you can't start painting the wall until the wall is built. 2. Start to start, SS. Task B cannot start until task A is started. For instance, you might begin drafting a document while also starting to research its topic. 3. Finish to finish, FF. Task B cannot finish until task A is finished. An example is that a software feature cannot be released until its testing phase is complete. 4. Start to finish, SF. Task B cannot finish until task A is started. This is less common, but might apply, for example, when you need to start a transition phase before completing the old system. In project management, a predecessor task is a task that must be completed, or sometimes just started, before another task, called a successor, can begin. Essentially, it defines a dependency relationship where one task's completion or initiation dictates the start or end of another task. After all the tasks have been sequenced and their relationships initially are established, a summary document of the work package is prepared and forwarded to the scheduling process. This is done for the synchronization of the many project tasks to ensure that no conflict of task schedule will happen during the project execution. We take note that the list contains a predecessor column that denotes dependency of a task to the other. It shall also be noted that tasks' dependencies and relationships shall be done on the tasks at the same level. For example, task 1.2.1 is at the same level with task 2.1.1. The fourth step in the project planning procedure is the project scheduling. Project scheduling is the process of organizing tasks, resources, and timelines to ensure that a project is completed efficiently and on time. It involves breaking down the total work into manageable activities, estimating the time required for each task, and determining the order in which tasks should be performed. Project scheduling involves several key steps to ensure projects are completed efficiently and effectively. These steps include defining the project scope, identifying and sequencing project tasks, estimating task durations and resource needs, developing the schedule, and monitoring progress. Here's a more detailed breakdown. 1. Define project scope. Clearly outline the project's goals, objectives, and deliverables. Identify all stakeholders and their roles. Establish a project timeline and budget. 2. Identify and sequence tasks. Break down the project into smaller, manageable tasks. Determine the dependencies between tasks. Which tasks must be completed before others can begin. Use techniques like network diagrams to visualize task relationships. 3. Estimate resources and durations. Determine the resources needed for each task, e.g., team members, materials, equipment. Estimate the time required to complete each task, considering potential risks and dependencies. 4. Develop the schedule. Utilize scheduling tools, e.g., Gantt charts, project management software, to create a visual representation of the schedule. Allocate resources to tasks and define start and end dates. Identify the critical path, the sequence of tasks that determines the overall project duration. There are several project scheduling tools, but very few are commonly used. 1. Project bar chart, normally used for high-level project monitoring and control. A bar chart is essentially a graphical representation of project activities, where each task is depicted as a horizontal bar. The length of the bar corresponds to the duration of the task, while the position along the timeline indicates the start and end dates. 2. Gantt chart. This type of chart is commonly used in construction projects. A Gantt chart is a visual project management tool that displays a project schedule as a horizontal bar chart. It shows tasks, their start and end dates, and their duration over a timeline. It also shows relationships of the different tasks of the project. Gantt charts are used to plan, schedule, and track project progress, making it easier to understand task dependencies and manage deadlines. 3. CPM network diagram. A critical path method network diagram is a visual representation of a project's tasks, their dependencies, and their estimated durations, used in project management to identify the critical path and optimize project schedules. Essentially, it's a flowchart that maps out the order in which tasks must be completed to finish a project on time. Building the detailed budget estimate is the fifth step in the project planning procedure. Project budget estimates can be ballparked, calculated with parametric formulas, and determined through apportioning. While these high-level estimates are useful in the process of selecting projects, they are not accurate enough for managing a project. Once the project is approved, there is a need for a detailed, accurate cost estimate. The detailed cost estimate becomes the standard for keeping cost in line. Everyone, customer, management, project manager, and team, is better served when a cost target is realistically calculated from a detailed plan. The team understands how the goal was created, and customers and management can be more confident that the project will stay within budget. Forecasting cash flow enables the project's funding to be planned and available when needed. Finally, during the course of the project, this detailed cost information will help in controlling the project, monitoring the progress, identifying problems, and finding solutions. Here's a more detailed breakdown of key components of a project budget. 1. Labor costs. These encompass all expenses related to human resources, including salaries, wages, benefits, and any training costs associated with the project team. 2. Material costs. This includes the cost of all materials needed for the project, such as raw materials, equipment, software, and even office supplies. 3. Equipment costs. If the project requires specialized equipment, the cost of renting or purchasing it should be included in the budget. 4. Other costs. This category can include travel expenses, training costs, and any other costs directly related to the project. The two subclassifications are A. Overhead costs. These are indirect costs associated with the project, like rent, utilities, insurance, and administrative expenses. B. Contingency funds. These are allocated to cover unforeseen expenses or changes that might arise during the project's life cycle. It's a financial safety net, typically calculated as a percentage of the total project cost. This is a typical format of project budget summary. A project budget typically includes key components like labor costs, material costs, equipment costs, overhead costs, and contingency funds. These elements are crucial for planning and controlling project finances, ensuring it stays within budget. Process of assigning and leveling of project resources. The process input are 1. WBS and task list. 2. Resource schedules as follows. A. Material requirement schedule. B. Equipment requirement schedule. C. Manpower requirement schedule. D. Other resource requirement schedule. 3. Project execution schedule, final draft. 4. Project budget, final draft. 5. Project cash flow, optional. 2 key steps of assigning and leveling of project resources as follows. Initial step, check resource availability. 1. Determine the specification of the resources for availability in local or foreign sources. Determine the location of prospective suppliers. 2. Determine if the prospective suppliers are capable of delivery according to project schedule. Else consolidation of suppliers shall be arranged. 3. Ascertain the cost of the resources and compare with project budget to determine variances. Final step, resource leveling. A. Assess your project budget and resource schedule against cost and delivery timing from suppliers. B. Where differences of cost and delivery schedule exist, necessary adjustment or modification to the budget, cash flow, and implementation schedule shall be effected. C. The different project resource schedules may need to be modified or adjusted accordingly. Detailed processes for assigning and leveling of each project resource shall likewise be performed. Let's start with evaluating the material requirement schedule. 3 important factors has to be determined. First is the sources of the materials, whether it is available from the local or foreign suppliers. Second is to determine the scheduled dates of utilization, and third is the quantity or volume of the materials to ascertain if prospective suppliers are capable of delivery. WBS code should always be indicated on each task, especially when these data were taken from the work packages. Any of the sources, quantity, or volume, and utilization dates have issues that could impact the project, then the project implementation schedule should be reviewed and modified if necessary. Equipment dispatching or utilization schedule shall be evaluated. There are some important aspects that could affect the project. First is the source of the equipment, whether the project acquire or purchase it itself, to rent it from equipment lessor, or to have it contracted out as equipment services. Second is the availability of the equipment, if those can be used on specified schedule. If for a special kind of equipment, its availability for use shall likewise be considered. Same as the material requirement schedule, each task should have WBS code if data were coming from the work packages. The manpower deployment schedule is the third resource to be evaluated. Foremost is to evaluate the manpower distribution schedule chart to determine the level of the number of personnel required according to schedule. To look into the abruptness of hiring and termination. This is important because the project just cannot hire and fire employees at will. It has to abide and comply with government labor or employment laws and regulations. As with the materials and equipment requirements, its sources have to be identified. Whether for local project hiring, from the company's central manpower pool, or from private manpower placement companies. The availability of both skilled and unskilled personnel have to be recruited and selected properly to ensure the quality of their output for the project. As with the materials and equipment requirement schedule, each task should contain the WBS code. To facilitate leveling of resources, a bar chart, for example, can be used to view the personnel deployment level. A manpower pool capacity line provides the picture of the potential variance in the number of hiring and releasing of workers. Noting the variance, the project team will need to decide on how and where an adjustment have to be made to address the potential issue. This method of leveling may also be applied with the materials, equipment, and other resource requirement. The project team shall collate all the project documents that were created during the planning process, including those documents that were coming from previous processes and were used as reference during the planning activities. Relevant copies of the documents shall be reproduced and distributed to all concerned parties and department who are involved either to actually execute the project or will be providing resource support or services. A tabulation of the documents is created and distributed to all concerned collaborators of the project execution phase. These documents are vital references and guides to ensure that project execution is effective and successful.
Before we wrap this thing up, I have one final question to ask. How should I create my project plan?
I have only one simple answer for you. Just follow the project planning procedure. This project planning procedure flow chart provides guidance for a planner to properly create the project plan. It consists of 7 steps as follows. Step 1. Create work breakdown structure, WBS. Step 2. Estimate work packages. Step 3. Sequencing of task. Step 4. Draw initial schedule. Step 5. Develop budget. Step 6. Assign and level resources. Step 7. Complete the project plan. We finally have concluded our discussion on project planning, which is a critical phase in project execution. It lays the groundwork for the entire project lifecycle. It involves creating a detailed roadmap that outlines how the project will be executed, monitored, and completed. Proper project planning helps to minimize risks, allocate resources proficiently, and ensure that all stakeholders are aligned with the project goals. Specifically, planning helps teams stay organized, meet deadlines, and manage resources efficiently and effectively. Project planning offers numerous benefits, including increased efficiency, improved communication, and better risk management, all of which contribute to a higher likelihood of a successful project implementation. Let me invite you as well to view our next learning video on project execution phase that will develop further your competencies and know-how on managing projects.
Before leaving, may I thank you for the time you invested here. Should you still have questions and clarifications to ask, write it in the comment below or email me at mytechtoolbox@gmail.com. If you have learned something that are useful, please give us a like. That's one way to support our channel. You may also want to share this video for your friends to learn. Subscribe now so you will be notified on every new learning videos we post on YouTube. Thank you and good luck.